Okay. Can everyone see that? Okay, I'm going to assume that you can see that because I'm not hearing anything. Is there anybody out there? Okay, thank you, Julie. Right, so I'm going to go through first of all giving some background here. As Simeon has said, we organize our development programs around program increments. A program increment is 3 to 4 months, depending on the calendar, and it is bookended by community meetings. So we've just finished one program increment, number 25, and we're just about to start the next program increment, number 26. So we're going to be talking here about what we're going to be doing during PI 26. Work streams are identified and tracked across a program increment. Some work streams extend beyond one program increment where they are more complex, where there's more work to do, or whether it is frankly lower priority, so less effort has gone into it. And as Simeon has said, there's regular meetings organized and led by the workstream lead. Anyone can join a meeting. Anyone from the Mojaloop community is welcome to join a meeting. Community Central is supposed to be the place where you go to find out when those meetings are going to be held. But a lot of activity actually takes place on the individual workstream Slack channels. And you can find them by looking for something named around about hashtag WS-workstream name. And you follow the Slack channel for workstream updates, which including dates of meetings, links to meetings, etc., etc. We also have started the practice, actually only just within the last PI, of having monthly meetings of workstream leads, and we're using those to monitor overall progress. And we're also being a little more proactive in identifying work streams which are not progressing as we might expect. So where a work stream is not going to reach its objectives, we take the view that it can be marked as inactive, and if there's no remedial action taken by the workstream leads to bring it to life, then we probably will take it out of the roadmap. And we did that in the last PI with, I think, 2 or 3 work streams, which have been pushed out further back because they're clearly not a priority for the community. The corollary of that is, if you see a work stream that is on the roadmap, then you can assume it is an active work stream. Work streams are not just monitored within the product council. We also require that they interact with the design authority, and product council will facilitate this, and design authority members will review designs, will review the technology, and give their approval for how it is implemented before it can be considered for integration into the Mojaloop core. Simeon and the Mojaloop community, in collaboration with product council leads, etc., has developed a workstream oversight plan to make the process clearer. I think this is still in draft, but I think he'll be probably publishing it soon. Just to give some context to people who haven't seen this before, we organize our work streams around the concept of pillars, all of which are there to support the overall goals of the Mojaloop community. So we have 3 pillars. The first is make adoption easier. There are work streams which are focused on essentially easing the life of adopters. So tools to allow them to integrate more easily within with a Mojaloop hub, or to make the operation of that hub easier. Essentially to make it as easy as possible for somebody to pick up Mojaloop, deploy it, and start using it. The second pillar is achieving scale, which is essentially saying So you've got your Mojaloop hub, it's operating well. How do you actually start to increase the number of transactions going through that? And a very prominent part of that has been over the last couple of PIs, merchant payments, which has now matured, and also activities around PISP and open banking fall into achieving scale. Connect to other systems is a recognition that Mojaloop isn't the only switching technology in the world, and maybe we need to be able to connect to others, and with things like connecting into Nexus, connecting to one or two others, such as TCIB, for example. That's where they fit. Underpinning it all is quality product, and that's work streams around the core itself. Performance improvements, release strategies, a whole host of other things fall within that underlying foundation. So that's simply just a way of classifying work streams so that we understand where they fit and what they're trying to achieve. We did review the workstream statuses in preparation for this convening. We had a review session, a meeting of all of the workstream leads, where we assessed the status of each individual workstream and decided whether it was going to continue on into the next PI. And then the outputs of that call were presented to Product Council just last week. And during that session, we presented the results of the workstream leads call, and we also tried to take an overall holistic view and what aspects are missing, what do we think we need to do during the next PI. So the outputs of those two sessions were used to review the existing roadmap and to refine it for PI 26 and extend it further. And we identified some new work streams, and those new work streams, it's arguable that they are not properly defined as yet, and they'll need more formal definition. And we'll probably do that in collaboration with workstream leads when they have been identified, and report that back to Product Council. So let's dive straight into the review of the work streams. This is a workstream dashboard which I maintain, which provides you with a quick overview of all of the work streams. These are all the PI 25 work streams down the left-hand side. I think you can see, well, I document the progress by going into multiple phases. Sorry, I'm a bit distracted. I can hear my own voice through an echo in the room, I think. So sorry about that. Going from left to right is essentially a progression. So we start off defining the product requirements. Then we talk about the development of a backlog suitable for a minimum viable product or a proof of concept. Has it been reviewed by the design authority? Has a production backlog been completed? Is development in progress? Is it actually ready for a proof of concept? Is it ready for a live service? Then a brief comment at the end. This is continuously updated. Well, I review it probably once every week, maybe 2 weeks, and update it accordingly. So as a brief, just a quick update, you can see that, for example, the multi-scheme workstream is pretty much complete. It's got blue lights across the board, and essentially it's completed, but it will need further work. I won't go through each line of this now because I want to go to say something more complete about each of these work streams. But just to say, you will always be able to access this dashboard via Community Central, and I'm starting to introduce it as just a quick review at the start of each Product Council. So briefly, before I go into individual work streams, I would like to highlight that I think the last PI 25, has been a huge success. It's been the most successful PI that I've ever experienced within the Mojaloop community. There have been significant performance improvements at the hub. We can now readily deploy Mojaloop on premises with no external dependencies. And that's been a big piece of work to be able to achieve that. We can now interconnect multiple Mojaloops, and we can seamlessly route payments across them all. A payment can cross jurisdictions through the integration of FX providers into the Mojaloop ecosystem. ISO 222 messages can now be used with the Mojaloop service. We have a comprehensive software bill of materials, and it can be integrated into the release process in order to further improve quality. And we have a cost-effective solution for connecting small DFSPs to a Mojaloop hub. That's an amazing set of developments that we've achieved over the last 4 months. I think it's remarkable, and I think everybody that's contributed to that should congratulate themselves. I think it's a great success. I'm not getting any feedback from the room, so I hope you're as impressed in the room as I am here. Let's go through some of the PI 25 work streams and just get a quick review of each one. I'm doing quality product foundation first, because I always feel bad, because Sam is a major contributor to this set of work streams, and he always has to wait till last. So I thought I'd start first with the foundation stuff. Core and releases, which is a key responsibility of Sam. He was trying to get FX and multi-scheme, otherwise known as inter-scheme, those work streams integrated into a Mojaloop v17 release in time for the convening. He didn't actually manage it. He didn't have a lot of time, but he'll get it released very soon. It's not clear when the output of the ISO 222 workstream will be integrated into a release. It's likely we'll put it in Mojaloop v18, but I expect that to actually happen very early into PI 26. Within the next few weeks, probably next week we'll have a v17, and a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks after that, we'll have a v18. And those are 2 huge steps forward. Platform quality and security. There's been a huge amount of success there with the software bill of materials creation, and the next step here is to start actually using it in release management. So integrate it into the CI process, issue warnings if a dependency within that process is deprecated. We did talk within the DA about whether we should actually stopping the release at all if a dependency is deprecated, but that makes no sense, because that may be that there are other pressures on a particular release. So keep it as a warning. Other priorities for PI 26, addressing all the Dependabot alerts, updating the Mojaloop license in the Mojaloop repos, because they're actually out of date, some of them, and they need bringing up to date since the move from the Gates Foundation to the Mojaloop Foundation. We are keen to try and qualify for the OpenSSF best practices badge program. And we also want to do some work on guaranteeing the provenance of Mojaloop artifacts during the build process. So actually checking the signatures to check that we are integrating the correct artifacts together. Again, sticking with quality product, there's work to do on localization. We believe that the time zone localization work is complete to POC standard, but it needs productionizing, and we'll keep this work stream going. It needs to be integrated into a release. We're not quite sure when, probably V18, maybe actually V19. Currency localization isn't required because Mojaloop already supports multi-currencies. It's not relevant. Language is more difficult. So language localization is going to be set aside until we have more capacity. It's not seen as a priority at the moment, but it may well become a priority in the future. Performance optimization, we heard about that yesterday. We want to publish a white paper and and we need to do a set of related performance testing in a variety of configurations in order to produce a meaningful white paper. And I think we should also develop some sort of predictive modeling tool so that, you know, we can say in this configuration, what kind of performance can I expect, that type of thing. And that's going to be the principal focus of this work stream for the next PI. We also like to start doing performance testing on all releases. So essentially develop a baseline of performance. So this is a defined deployment configuration. This is the performance that we get with Mojaloop v16. As it comes to the release of Mojaloop v17, do performance testing on that and compare it against that baseline. Sticking with quality product, this is actually a really important work stream. I should probably have talked about this first. We're going to expend significant effort over the next probably one, maybe two PIs. Maybe two PIs because this is quite a complex piece of work. We want to integrate Tiger Beetle. I think this might actually be the first time we've talked about Tiger Beetle at this convening. We want to integrate Tiger Beetle into our Mojaloop code base. James and Michael have done some initial design work. Tiger Beetle organization, Tiger Beetle, is it Foundation? I don't think it is. But they've promised support from that, technical support in doing that integration. In addition, there's a collaborative effort between the Mojaloop community and the Tiger Beetle community on developing a new design for settlement. So almost actually offloading a great deal of the work that is needed in order to produce a settlement set of information into the Tiger Beetle domain. So that would allow settlement to be a much more straightforward process from the Mojaloop context and a lot more efficient. This will be applicable both to the vNow and the vNext code bases, and it will take a lot of the burden away from the Mojaloop hub and its portals. There will still need to be significant integration work into the Mojaloop code base and also into the portals themselves in order to manage the process. But so that work stream is going to be, I think, potentially quite disruptive. But it's important that we do it because it essentially takes us into almost an order of magnitude improvement in terms of the performance of the Mojaloop hub as a whole. So this is probably going to be a priority one work stream for the next PI or two. On the vNext code base, the backlog is defined, and I'm very pleased to say that Bitsa a contributing effort. However, that's not really enough. There's a lot of work to do there. We need further support on that. Bitsa are focusing on improving test coverage at the moment, and we need to review the Tiger Beetle integration, as you can see from the previous work stream. Next gen settlement for vNext, there's no current activity. There's going to be a need to revisit the Tiger Beetle integration because of what I've already said, and the admin API needs to be defined in more detail. Moving along, we're going back to pillar one now. So participation tools. There's a stream of emerging requirements. This is not a work stream that we think is ever going to end. There's always going to be new requirements here. So we're going to propose to make this a continuous work stream, not one that's pinned to a particular PI. The current deliverable, as you saw yesterday, it was a Raspberry Pi based implementation of the ITK, which we've demoed yesterday. We're looking for an adopter there to actually try that out in the real world, and then we can perhaps productionize it. You never know quite what issues might arise as you go from a proof of concept, as you saw yesterday, to production. So if you as an adopter, a hub operator, want to try it out, then we'd welcome you with open arms. Please talk to myself, talk to James. The next priority for this work stream is payment manager adoption. We've talked about payment manager for a long time, or PM4ML as it's also talked about. It is open source. It was developed by members of the Mojaloop community, but it's never actually been formally adopted as a Mojaloop Foundation piece of software. And we think it is important that it is adopted. So there's work needed to qualify it for adoption. And we think that was probably going to be a priority for the next PI. So then we have the ITK for in its various incarnations, including the Raspberry Pi, which is suitable for small to medium-sized DFSPs. And then we have Payment Manager, which is medium to large size DFSPs, as it provides more control, more management functionality, which is what you need as certainly if you're a bank connecting to Mojaloop, you need Payment Manager. ITK as it stands, this is quite an important issue. It has some functionality in it which supports bulk payments. And that functionality is to take a large payment list of, say, 1 million payments to be made, and it breaks it down by using functionality at the hub to break it down into payments lists for individual destination DFSPs and send individual lists. We're not happy that should be taking place, because it means that the functionality is only available within for particular DFSPs. It's been suggested that we need to refactor this, and the idea is that all functionality should be in the hub, and therefore it's democratizing the bulk functionality. So a large list should be passed by the ITK to the hub for splitting up, and then returned to the ITK as a set of sublists for submission using bulk quote, bulk transfer. It makes it more efficient for 1 million plus alias lookups, and it better preserves non-repudiation. And similarly, perhaps a target ITK should be able to pass its sublist to the hub for splitting into individual transfers if the DFSP can't handle the list. We therefore think that there is a need to separate this out from the participation tools workstream to a separate workstream for bulk payments. And therefore we will create a new workstream, and its aim is to refactor the current implementation and complete it for both ends of the transaction. And that's also necessary to include PISP initiated bulk payments. So that's a new work stream aimed at improving our implementation of bulk payments. Next one is participation tools for fintechs. That is a fancy way of saying open banking. As you heard in the previous session, we need a significant amount of work there. Alan, who I know, well, he was in the room an hour or so ago. He's the lead on this work stream. Alan has been extremely busy over the last PI 25. He had other priorities, in particular merchant payments, as you saw on, was it Tuesday? So now that that's gone live, I'm hoping that we'll be able to engage more closely on defining the open banking API here. We have some requirements defined, but that includes definition of the API. So anybody who wants to get involved with the definition of the open banking API for Mojaloop, that's the work stream to get involved with. Go and talk to Alan, and I'm sure he'll welcome you with open arms. Still on pillar one, on-premises deployments. It's almost complete. There's as I think that James was saying yesterday, there's been a major amount of work there in refactoring of the infrastructure as code work, and David Fry and Oscar at Infotex have worked wonders there. We now have a new generation of IAC, which is significantly more flexible, and it supports on premises, and it has removed the final cloud dependency. It needs a DA review, so it's not quite ready to be used yet, but well, it has been used, but we need to go through that formal process of DA review. It needs to evolve to support all other types of deployments, and so we're going to retitle this workstream as deployment tools maintenance, because we're not merely talking about on-premises anymore. We're talking about any type of environment. And the focus is on ensuring that IAC is well structured and clean, can support multiple deployment types, and crucially is the foundation of all deployments, supplemented by the availability of multiple templates and profiles which can be perso to the specifics. So that's a terrible payments word, persoed, configured for specific circumstances in a particular deployment as required by the particular adopter. Next work stream was FRMS deployment in POC. This has been taken up, I think, by the Tazama team, and they've been working on the Comesa deployment. This is no longer anything to do with the Mojaloop community. We're going to remove this work stream. We're going to look at dispute management as a replacement work stream. Dispute management is a requirement that's has been around for a while. It's a gap in our offerings. We saw demonstration from Marswitch yesterday, so we'd love to get them involved in this work stream. And I know that Greg and the Tazama team have been working on dispute management as well. They say they have an open source dispute management offering. So this work stream will look at the various options and try and define something within the Mojaloop community domain that we can define as a dispute management offering for every deployment. Anybody who'd like to work on that, please let me know. Alan wired in. I don't know if you've been involved with the work at Marswitch on this, but please, we'd like to get you involved in that. PISP 2.0. The PISP 2.0 API version has been defined, but it hasn't actually been implemented as yet. So we need to get this done if we want to unleash all of the PISP capability in support of open banking. It needs a refactoring of the resource endpoints in the switch and in the ITK to match. This is important work. We haven't had any capacity to address it, so it's been hanging around as a rather quiet work stream for some time. Even though it's inactive, I haven't wanted to take it off the roadmap because it's important. We need to get it done at some point, and it is going to become a roadblock soon. So please talk to Paul Baker. He's the workstream lead there. If you want to help us on the implementation of the PISP 2.0, which is the more open of the open banking options, then please talk to Paul. Merchant payments workstream, it's complete essentially. We need somebody to productionize it, and Marswitch and Wiredin have done a lot of work in Rwanda, but we need to get feedback from those teams to help productionize it and to refine it. It will be evolving to encompass other forms of payments addressing. The other day, we talked about LEIs and there's UTCs as well. We're in Rwanda, where there are existing pilots. It's particularly important for cross-border payments, as we heard, but more generally, we probably need to support more forms of payments addressing. So since this work stream has now become all about payments addressing, the proposal is to replace this work stream with a specific payments addressing work stream. And this is principally about merchant payments cross-border, the wider cross-border issues, and also to address the related duplicate problem, which Michael went through at some length yesterday. So that's the place where all those issues will be addressed. So if you want to get involved with sorting out payments addressing from a global perspective, then please get involved in that work stream. And pillar 3, first of all, foreign exchange. I've written somewhat complete. It is complete in that it all works at the moment, but we need to extend its capabilities. Currently, it supports multiple FX providers, aka banks, but it doesn't support automated selection of the cheapest quote at the DFSP side. It needs design work to decide the best way of doing it. DFSPs currently have to decide which FX provider to use, and multiple quotes are not supported. Currently, only payer conversion is supported. We need to implement payee conversion, because as you know, it's not always the case that the payer defines the FX process. It could be the payee that does. So we need some work to support that. We also need to support currency conversion via reference currency. Currently, it's just direct between two currencies. And we know that a lot of transactions actually go via a reference currency, so we do need to support that. And finally, the missing gap is the missing element is bulk FX. Currently, we're just doing it on individual transactions. We need to support bulk as well, bulk FX purchasing. And we're waiting for the current implementation, which doesn't include those bullet points, to be part of a Mojaloop official release, and we expect it to be any day now in version 17. ISO 222, it's largely complete, which I think is remarkable. I really do. And the team involved in that, I think, absolutely needs congratulations there. We're going to retain this work stream as ISO 222 refinement, because we know that it will need more work. It'll probably be part of Mojaloop V18 because it's not quite ready for V17. There is an emerging strategic requirement to start considering ISO 222 for open banking. It'll be a strategic work stream. It's not a technical work stream for the moment. Interscheme, mostly complete. It's complete for the Comessa deployment, but it needs further generalization work for other schemes. So essentially, as it stands at the moment, the interscheme implementation works across multiple Mojaloop schemes, all interconnected. The first priority here is going to be to interconnect to domestic jurisdictional non-Mojaloop schemes within the Comessa region. And following that, we're going to probably want to integrate with TCIB and Nexus. So we're going to rename this workstream to non-Mojaloop interscheme. And we're probably going to pause it for the moment until these requirements materialize. And the current implementation is probably going to be part of the Mojaloop V17 release, which is coming very soon. So that brings us to the roadmap. The last product council session, we did review the existing roadmap, and we broadly agreed what was going to be on the PI26 roadmap. And I suggest that we should be able to start reviewing that now. I'm going to present it now. Firstly, before we get into that, I briefly wanted to talk about the Mojaloop release schedule. Mojaloop Congo version 16 is our current version. It's out there right now. Version 17, Mojaloop Irrawaddy, is going to be any day now, Sam assures me. And it's going to include the support for FX and interscheme, a range of performance enhancements, and as always, maintenance fixes. And the additional features there are on-premises support, merchant payments, G2P support. They're all available in Mojaloop Irrawaddy. Mojaloop Limpopo version 18 is going to be released probably in December, so hot on the heels of version 17. And the principal focus there is going to be support for ISO 222 messaging. And I'm hoping that we'll have the SBOM integration there as well. Mojaloop Meerkat will come out in version 19, probably just in time for the next convening. And I'm expecting time zone localization and the first pass of payments addressing solutions and LEIs, probably ready for a proof of concept at that stage. And then looking miles into the future, July next year, Mojaloop Mekong version 20. I'm hoping that that will include the next gen settlements and Tiger Beetle integration. And we don't know what the additional features will be there. It's way too far into the future to start thinking about that. I can't see what I wrote at the bottom of the screen because Zoom has handily hidden it from me. So never mind. Okay, so this is the revised roadmap, and I'm not expecting you to read this here. I'm going to change my my screen here, and we're going to go here. And anyone who wants to follow along, I'll put this link in the chat in a moment. There's the QR code as well. And we're going to go over to Miro to have a look at the Mojaloop roadmap in a little more detail. So if I stop sharing, you know, and please bear with me for a moment. So in the chat, if I put this link here, you should be able to join it. Should be able to join me on the Miro board. I'm going off to the Miro board now, and I'll share my screen. And please feel free to join me there. So if you're able to join me, you'll be able to zoom in as you see fit. I'll try zooming in myself. Right, zoom it slightly. Okay, so this is the usual roadmap that you've seen, that many of you have seen in the past. Across here are the Mojaloop releases, which we've just discussed. Version 17, which is any day now, and version 18 following on, though Sam has just informed me that he thinks that he might be able to get the ISO 222 into Mojaloop 17, in which case we'll push Mojaloop version 18 Limpopo back a bit, but we'll see how that goes over the next few days and weeks. Yes. Okay, version 19 is here, probably just before the next convening, and then further releases further down the line. Under Pillar 1, make adoption easier. We have across the top here participation tools, and that I expect to now become essentially a continuous work stream as we continue to revise our participation offerings. This is the open banking API here, participation tools for fintechs. That I expect to be fairly active over the next PI, and hopefully moving us from the development phase here in solid to the lighter phase here, which is where we move to proof of concept and deployment. On-premises deployment, that work stream, as I said, is ending and being replaced with deployment tools, maintenance of deployment tools, which will again become a continuous work stream. Here, the FRMS or Tazama proof of concept for pilot, that's now complete. I think it is currently in progress with the Comesa deployment, so it's no longer our concern. It remains entirely within the Tazama domain. Under Pillar 2, Achieve Scale, we have a new work stream all about dispute management. And I don't expect that to be completed in the next PI. I think that's going to go over into the following PI over here. And we'll see what that will progress according to how many people actually contribute their effort there. So we'll see. PISP V2, yeah, I think that if we get sufficient effort, we can certainly achieve that within the next PI. I mean, given how much we've achieved in PI 25, I think refactoring the PISP into API is going to be positively trivial by comparison. Payments addressing, I think the first phase of that we should be able to complete within the next PI. We hopefully will get to some sort of pilot of certainly with LEIs within the next PI. Foreign exchange, as I said, the initial version is complete, but there's quite a lot more work to do. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to complete that within the next PI, but I recognize it's not currently a priority for anyone in the Comesa deployment, so it may leak further into the following PI after that. The inter-scheme support, well, we previously had the multi-scheme deployment support. That's now pretty much complete, and it's being replaced with the non-Mojaloop inter-scheme support. It's not currently a priority. It is likely to become a limited priority for the various domestic non-Mojaloop schemes. So we'll see how that goes. There'll be a pause before that is picked up, I think, which is reflected here. And then it's likely to extend into PI 27 as well. ISO 222 refinement, that's probably a relatively low volume, low resource work stream, probably for most of the next PI. Here we have the next gen settlement and Tiger Beetle integration for VNow. That I think is going to be a high priority work stream for this PI and extending into the following PI as well, into PI 27. And we'll probably see proof of concept into PI 28 beyond that. A lot of work to be done there. The next gen settlement, admin APIs and Tiger Beetle integration for vNext. That's a difficult one to predict. We'll see how that goes, but it is dependent on the progress made in the previous work stream as well. vNext code base, that's another one with a lot of work to be done. We'll keep that going. I expect that to go into PI 27. It depends on how many volunteers we get to contribute to that work stream. I'm really hoping that by halfway through PI 27, we'll have something out there which is ready for proof of concept and pilots. Time zone localization, I think that is largely complete, but we'll see what further work is needed and how we can progress towards a pilot. And then we have the three continuous work streams here of performance optimization, core and releases, and platform quality and security. They'll just continue as is for now, for the foreseeable future. And then we have work here to refactor bulk payments. I'm assuming that's not going to start straight away. I think that's only going to start about halfway through the next PI. But if there is a priority requirement there, I can see that coming forward and starting, as soon as somebody is willing to put up the effort. That's all of the development or technical work streams. At the bottom here, we have our 4 strategic work streams. The cross-border payments addressing, ISO 222 for open banking, and stablecoin settlement. There are current 4 strategic work streams. Those, there are 4 of us that tend to attend all of those meetings. Myself, Michael, Julie, and Steve. Other people are welcome to join if they want. If you want to be invited to any of those, please just let me know and I'll make sure you get invited. It tends to be a more informal discussion group. It's not about the formal deliverables for specific work streams. The intention is that each of these will result in technical work streams in future PIs. So, yeah, as I say, it tends to be more strategic. Before I go on, are there any comments on that roadmap as a whole? I see 5 of you or 4 of you have joined me in that Miro session and have been able to examine it in more detail. Are there any comments in the room on that work stream? Are there work streams that you feel that I have missed? Are you disappointed at some elements of work that hasn't made it onto the roadmap? Does anyone want to make any comment? Now, as I'm not in the room, it's kind of difficult for me to see if there are any comments. Perhaps Simeon, you could facilitate this if you're there. No?
I'm watching the room for hands full.
Thank you.
I don't see any hands.
Okay, well, I'll take that as a general endorsement of the roadmap then. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. So that will be the roadmap for the next PI. I will be updating the list of active work streams to reflect the content of the roadmap, and we'll be talking to work stream leads to start scheduling meetings around that. So we've talked about Product Council at some length over the last few days. We regularly discuss workstream progress. Anyone who wants to take part in Product Council, come to the Product Council Slack channel or just contact me, send me your email address, and I can include you in meeting invitations. Me is defined as Paul Makin, and there's my email address if you want to get in touch and get involved in Product Council, or you can ping me on the Product Council Slack channel or directly or anywhere on the Mojaloop Slack. A schedule of topics to be discussed at product council meetings is published on Community Central. If you have a look there now, you can see the schedule of meetings from PI25. I'll be updating that directly after this meeting today to include a proposed schedule of meetings for PI26. But I want to emphasize that that schedule of meetings is just an outline. It's not set in stone. If there's a subject you want to raise for discussion, or if you think there's something missing from the roadmap, or you think there's something that needs to be discussed more urgently than has been scheduled, let me know. And I can always change that schedule. We are flexible on Product Council. I'll always do my best to make space for an urgent issue that somebody wants to raise. And so, just let me know and we'll get it onto the schedule and we'll set up meetings. Moving on. Our strategic meetings are work streams. Yes, we've talked about that. That's already. We have these 4 strategic work streams. They serve 2 purposes, the tentative identification of future work streams, and we do support for technical work stream leads in definition of priorities and requirements. These strategic work streams are all about trying to see what's coming over the horizon and trying to analyze what it means for Mojaloop and the Mojaloop community. So stablecoin settlement, for example, we as a group have been talking to various outside organizations about their various stablecoin offerings and how they think they might be usable for either retail transactions, or we're actually more interested in, how can you use it for settlement? Settlement in particular for cross-border transactions. I think that's where it becomes particularly interesting. Payments addressing, we've talked about. ISO 222 for open banking, yes. The cross-border special interest group is probably the most active one, where we talk about issues arising from FATF, changes in FATF recommendations, such as the travel rule, also known as FATF recommendation 16, and the implications that has for Mojaloop and particularly the inter-scheme and FX work streams. And we also, through these groups, attempt to influence outside organizations such as BIS and FATF. And we also interact with organizations like CGAP and the World Bank, BIS through these work streams. Okay, that's about all I wanted to say about that. New work streams. So we've identified some new work streams for PI26. There are 5 new ones, and I've put some prioritization in here. The most important one by far is next-gen settlement and Tiger Beetle integration. Tiger Beetle have provided support. This is a really important work stream for us, and we think that it's going to sorry, go on to presentation mode. I do apologize. Which screen can you see? Presenter screen. Okay, so I need to swap. That better, Sam? Okay. Yeah, we think we'll get some substantial performance gains. We think possibly an order of magnitude in performance by doing that Tiger Beetle integration, and also the new approach to settlement. I think it's potentially a really important work stream. That at this moment we don't have a work stream lead, so it's not happening. But so we need some volunteers in that space. In fact, we do for all of these. Payments addressing is also a high priority one, relating to LEIs, merchant payments, cross-border issues, and also to address the duplicate problem. So again, that's a high priority one, and we need support on that. Dispute management, we think this is something that is a gap in the offering at the moment. We know that Greg at Tazama has a potential solution there, an open source solution, so we need to explore that. And we saw yesterday that R-Switch have done great work in this space as well. So we need that work stream to at least begin by looking at what the options are and to define the work that needs to be done. The next one is non-Mojaloop inter-scheme support. This is slightly lower priority. The Comesa project has other things to do to begin with, but it is going to become a priority fairly soon thereafter, in particular for domestic non-Mojaloop schemes within the Comesa region. And once that's done, we're going to need some integration work with TCIB and Nexus. And then the other new work stream is the refactoring of bulk payments. So bulk payments works very well at the moment. It's very reliable, but there are better ways to implement. And at the moment, I think our implementation rather favors larger banks and doesn't do much for small DFSPs. So we need to refactor it so that it democratizes the bulk payments implementation. And we also need to implement PISP initiated bulk payments. So there are 5 new work streams. We need a lead for each of them. We need somebody to volunteer as a lead. We need a set of objectives defined for PI26. So, for example, next-gen settlement and Tiger Beetle integration, that's a technical work stream. The details already being defined by James and Michael. Whereas for something like dispute management, the objectives are more around what do we actually need to do? What are the current options? So an evaluation phase to begin with. And we need a meeting schedule. Without these 3 things as a bare minimum, a work stream will be removed from the roadmap, because if people aren't actively engaging on this, then nothing will be done. And then there'll need to be further details for each once a lead is identified. So the first thing I want to do in this regard today is to ask if anybody in the room is willing to take on the lead for any of these work streams. If they are, please raise your hand and somebody will come and take your name and get you to sign in blood somewhere to actually take on the role of workstream lead. Obviously, I can't see from here.
Yeah, Paul, we'll get your feed into the room. So, Paul, James Bush's hand is up, and Julie. Anybody else who? So let me restate what Paul said. These are brand new work streams that will engage for the next 3 months. These work streams need to accomplish a set of tasks, and Paul has assigned them certain levels of priority. These will not get done unless there is somebody in the room who is willing to volunteer to lead the work stream, to define a set of objectives or goals for that particular work stream, and to run meetings about a minimum of once every 2 weeks, ideally once a week. So, James, you were raising your hand to volunteer for a work stream lead.
Yes, thank you, Simeon. The next-gen settlement and Tiger Beetle integration, Paul. I would very much like to lead that one.
You're a perfect candidate for it, James. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, James. Julie, your hand was up.
and non-Mojaloop inter-scheme support.
Julie's gonna take
Perfect.
Mojaloop into scheme support. That leaves
That's
payment
perfect.
addressing, dispute management, and refactor bulk payments. Any volunteers? I'm not sure who else is on Zoom, but folks on Zoom can also volunteer. How many people do you have on Zoom, Paul?
When presenting, I can't really see.
Yeah, I know, it's all right, that's fine.
20, about 20 people on Zoom.
Okay. Any hands on Zoom to lead payments? I lost the slide, Paul.
Uh,
There we
you
go.
see it now?
Yes, I do. Yeah, it's too small that side. Payments addressing, dispute management, and inter-scheme support. Am I allowed to volunteer, people?
I think you are, Simeon. It's your prerogative.
Alan, your team is already doing dispute management with blessing from our switch. Would you people be willing to lead the dispute management workstream? Could you get a microphone to Alan, please?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna volunteer myself, but can you give me maybe a couple of days to talk to one of my team member to basically take the lead on this?
All right, thanks. Thanks a lot. So,
Thanks a lot.
Paul, we'll hear back on dispute
Yeah,
management.
Yeah,
So,
but
which one's
Monday-
left?
By Monday
By
next
Monday.
week, yeah.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you. Payments addressing and refactor bulk payments. Who's already doing work in this area?
On payments addressing, this is, I think there's, the two people who've been doing work in this space are, well, the three people are myself, Julie, and Michael. So
Arunjay? I was thinking about Arunjay. Is Arunjay involved?
Arunjay would be great if he was willing to volunteer.
Okay. Julie has a hand up.
I can reach.
Hang on.
Hi, can I make a suggestion for this? Like perhaps Glyph is going to commit some resource because merchant registry is going to be like, part of the topic. Perhaps let's have a discussion with Claire to see if somebody from Glyph can become the workstream lead at this.
Okay.
I think that's a great idea, Julie. But
Thank
there
you,
will
Julie.
need significant support from us.
Okay.
But that's fine.
Julie, are you going to reach out to Claire from Glyph about this? Okay. So Julie will reach out to Claire and we'll get confirmation from them.
Okay.
Awesome. That's one more. Refactor bulk payments.
Well, I'm actually thinking of Paul Baker there.
I was going to suggest Paul. Paul is online, I think.
Yes, he was. Yes. Paul, are you there?
Paul, if you're there, are you able to lead the bulk payments workstream? Is Paul online?
Sorry, you caught me
Yes,
with
he
my
is.
mouth full. I'm just having some breakfast. It's difficult for me to commit at this stage, but I'm certainly interested in the topic. So you can put me down as interested, but I'm not sure if I can commit.
Okay, but bear in mind, Paul, this isn't the highest priority work stream. We did think that it probably wouldn't start for maybe another month or 6 weeks. So would that influence you?
Okay. So I think I also might have missed your intro to that.
It's about, I think we discussed this at Product Council last week. It's all about taking some of the functionality that is in Payment Manager and moving it into the hub. and changing the interaction between the ITK and the hub around bulk payments.
Okay.
Because
certainly
you did a
on
lot of the work
so-
around bulk in terms of
So-
the orchestration. And we're just saying we're moving that orchestration into the hub rather than doing it in Payment Manager.
Okay. Yes, I certainly can volunteer for at least leading the discussion on that and coming up
Yeah.
with a design.
Awesome.
That's perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Okay, good. We have tentative leads for all of them then.
Excellent. You're very welcome, Paul.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for volunteering for that. That's perfect. Okay, so from my perspective, I think that's it. Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's the last slide.